Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Brandon, your trusted realtor, and I'm coming to you with another great episode. Today, I want to talk to you about something that each one of you are going to have to go through, whether or not you are buying a property or selling a property. No, I'm not talking about credit. No, I'm not talking about a lender or underwriting. I am talking about that one interaction that you have, that 8 to 11 page document that you have to sign upfront, typically with your real estate agent or at some point during the transaction. That is the real estate contract. And the real estate contract is really going to be at the crux of this discussion. And it's going to be, not only the discussion, but your transaction. It has a host of information in it that is going to really empower you. So I want to take the next few minutes and dive into the real estate contract about information that you should know and that is valuable to you. Now, first of all, if you are on the buyer side and you are buying a property, the real estate contract is your contractual agreement that outlines your rights and responsibility. Even if you're on the seller side, it includes that information in the contract. Up front, it's going to include your biographical information, and it's going to indicate that the transaction is between you and if it includes another person. And typically in the contract, just a fun fact, you should represent any additional parties with commas versus ands, because that and adds an additional legal impact as it relates to the paperwork. So if it's Billy Jean, comma, Susie Jean are the people who will be the buyers in the transactions. Just a little cleaner that way. And then you have the brokerage agency, the real estate agent, myself, and our contact and personal information. Sometimes you actually want to leave your personal information out of the contact or the contract, but it's helpful to have that because the title company and other individuals or entities that are involved in the transaction will refer back to that when they're looking to contact you or if they need to send you a payment or some type of return. So it's important to have your updated information in there. Also, it will include information about the time frame of the transaction. The time frame of the transaction is just that, the term. How long is that real estate agent going to work with you? Now, in most instances, it will spell out a 120-day time frame period. And most people will say, I don't want to be committed for 120 days, or I want to have the option or the availability. Remember, it's written in ink and not in stone. And the same way that there's a term, there's a termination period. And the termination period is an agreement between you and that real estate agent that basically you both are agreeing to work with each other and no one is forcing one person or the other to work. That means that at any point in time, with a certain amount of notice, you can indicate to that agent that you no longer want to work with them. Now, as you are reviewing that contract, it is important that you make sure that you look at those blank spots, because the difference, in my personal opinion, between a decent real estate agent and a good agent is that a good agent or better will really make sure that all the spaces in that contract, with the exception of a couple or additional places, are filled in, especially when it comes to the terms and it comes to the commission payment. The reason the commission payment is spelled out in the contract, especially if you're on the buyer side, well, first of all, you're probably thinking, well, as a buyer, I didn't think that I had to pay a commission, and you don't. In some instances, believe it or not, our contract is written so that based on your brokerage, there may be a set desired commission rate. Typically that's about 3%, but most listings don't always offer that 3%, or sometimes they offer at 3%, and in those rare occasions there are you get above 3%. But typically the buyer's agent, which is the one who's helping the client that's buying the home, will take what's on the MLS, and that's the type of language that you want to see in the listing contract. Per MLS or something related to the MLS. Why is that important? What if that place was that area was left blank? Well, it's very unlikely that the real estate agent will come back to you and say, hey, the listing agent is only paying 2.5%, so I'm going to actually ask that you pay the 0.5%. Like, I think you would probably be gobsmacked if someone came to you after you spend all this money and your real estate agent said, also, you got to pay 0.5% to me for this transaction. I don't think you as a buyer would be very happy with that. So it's important to note that that area is legally and just should be filled in. And there should be communication between you and the agent to better understand what the costs are. Also, there's an area for a retainer fee. Yes, we can charge a retainer fee for our service. And so let's be real. The reality is that we are real estate agents and we work based on our commission. That means we work based on our time. So if you choose that you want to go see 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 50 properties, there are some real estate agents that may say, hey, you can see 15 properties, and after 15 properties, then there's a retainer fee that you have to pay here. The retainer fee can either go towards the commission or not go towards the commission. It's really up to the agent, because remember, the agent manages their own business, so it is their business and they get the option to choose that. A retainer fee is not something that I provide. As you can see, look at the last 75 videos, which we've hit a mile marker of 75 videos. This will be number 76. But that just goes to show you, I give you a ton of information that's free, and I'm even developing some new stuff in the background that I think is going to be very advantageous. So look out for that. So in addition, so that's the information about compensation. Remember, if you're on the buyer side, the compensation is paid by the listing agent or the seller of the property. Then you have additional legal language. You have language about contingencies. Different contingencies exist such as the home inspection, the time frame that's going to take, the appraisal contingency, and financing. Typically are also indicated, or there's indications that these amendments will be added. There's legal language like taxes and forestation. These are things that you should look at and be familiar with, just so you have general understanding of them. Typically, they do not apply to you. They go into the section of what I like to call buyer rights. So just be aware and be mindful that there are rights that you are entitled to, such as not having discrimination, not being discriminated against based on your income or your assets. It also identifies the responsibilities of that agent, such as making sure that they have a fiduciary responsibility to you, meaning that they're working on your behalf in each and every instance. And that also means that they have a certain sense of loyalty. Loyalty means that they are going to be loyal to you in that transaction. And if anyone else were to be involved in the transaction, it's the legal requirement of your real estate agent to disclose that to you, right? Remember, if you heard any of my other videos, I say that you are the most important person in the transaction, because you are. Not only because it's the law, but because sellers can't sell their home without buyers, and real estate agents don't get paid without buyers. So you really play a critical role in that transactions. What else is in the contract? And the contract really is an instrument that defines the terms and the arrangement. Outside of that, the agency agreement also indicates that there is a brokerage fee. The brokerage fee, no matter where you go, you'll have typically a brokerage fee. It will be anywhere between $300 and $500, just really depending on the real estate company that you work with. My company charges $450, and that is money that I do not fee. That is an administrative cost that goes for doing the paperwork and the transaction. If you've heard any of my other videos, you know that real estate is the ultimate capitalist game. Anyone who can be involved in the transaction is involved in the transaction, and they get paid in the transaction. It's nothing I can control. But the benefit that you have is that you don't pay that up front. You pay that at closing. That is something that is a closing cost expense. In addition, the contract will also include additional amendments or place for additional options. So just be mindful if there are additional things after watching a lot of my videos that you want to think about, just to include that you want to have certain protections in properties, or if you're looking for certain types of properties. It also allows for you to identify certain addendums. So for example, let's say if you are a seller and you have a house right now and you want to hold over in that property before you actually allow the new owner to move into it, then you can have that seller post-settlement agreement addendum. So there's a host of different addendums and rights and regulations that are included in there. So hopefully this has been helpful to you. The next video, we'll talk about seller rights and the seller agreement, things that sellers will find inside of their seller contract. If this is your first time owning a house, or even if you are seasoned in owning a home and you just want to understand what is inside of that contract, that'll be the next video. So if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe and turn on that notification bell so you can stay tuned in and in tune to the latest and greatest realty here in the DMV and everywhere else. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.